Yeah, I'm going to have Russ start us out because I think he has some really great innovation around this.
Yeah, so I mean, to talk about ourselves just a little bit on this point. Firstly, it's important to say that the amount of support and work that's being done on the internal aspect has increased substantially over recent years. It used to be that programs that were designed for the rising or the next generation mainly focused on what do I need to know in order to perform a role within the family enterprise that I'm with or the family business that I'm within. And there's much more work being done on how do you actually explore your sense of self and your sense of purpose. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it's really important that those two sit alongside each other so that you understand the skills and the knowledge and the kind of experience that you need to gain in order to perform a role, but you also need to have that internal sense of legitimacy in order to perform that role to your best ability. One of the ways in which we have created a program to support people who are in this particular situation is design an immersive program. Kim, you mentioned that there's the Hoffman Institute and there are other experiences that are available. Part of what we believe is really important within that is you're working with others who are in a similar situation so that you are able to share stories and to share experiences in an environment where you can be confidently vulnerable. Again, back to that point that Kim made around the importance of being able to feel as though you're in a safe environment. And the way in which we do that is to help people to understand the patterns within their lives. So one of the areas from the research was that they're in all of our lives. So in everybody watching along today, there will be moments that we categorize as breaking moments. Times in our lives where things have been going along relatively smoothly and then something comes along and disrupts that. COVID is a great example from a global perspective of an event happening that triggers our feelings of perhaps being a bit lost, a bit betwixt and between, and this feeling of kind of not knowing where to turn next. And what we help to do is equip people with the tools to learn how to navigate those breaking points in the future. And I think these types of support where there's much more focus on you as an individual understanding yourself better. Again, unsurprisingly, I'm an advocate for the Quest Fund. If we could have that within every family, and I think it's a great way to help support people. Again, slightly tongue-in-cheek around it being called the Quest Fund, but something that allows the exploration on an individual basis. Thank you, Jeff. Yes, create a Quest Fund. Something that allows that kind of exploration around that to allow it to be done within a safe environment where in the case of we call it the RISE experience, what we do is bring people from similar environments where they're in part of a successful family enterprise or they're in a prominent family and help them to explore and understand their place within that system and in their place within the world and how you can bring the two together to allow both to thrive and flourish. So strongly advocate seeking support if it's something that is proving a challenge, but to know that there is support out there. There's our program, there's things like Hoffman, there's various other Rising Gen programs from university centres, from other family business advisory firms as well that are much more aligned to the individuals rather than just seeking to understand the knowledge, which is vital, but it's not just on it in isolation.
And, Russ, when you talk about peer groups, there's many, this gets to Stephanie's question about role, right? Based on our role, we see many people doing Young Presidents Organization, which is global, or other type of peer exchange learning. And these university-based centers that you mentioned are all over the world. And they have shared learning experiences where people can safely share their stories. But really highly recommend to anyone to look at the various peer exchange forums that are in your community and certainly reach out to us if the Quest Rise experience is something that you'd be interested in. But we found when we were in Oxford for our last Quest Rise experience, one of our members explained that sharing their story, that they didn't, until they started sharing that story amongst peers who took an oath of confidentiality with each other, they didn't even realize the depth and magnitude of that story. And by the time the week was over and they came out of the experience of learning how to place that story and view it through a different lens to make it productive for them, for these individuals, was so valuable to them. And that gets back to that confident vulnerability, is that when we share our story, I guarantee you, I often hear people say to me, I'm the only one who ever had this happen. I'm embarrassed to tell people. But being in that shared learning experience can be so, so powerful, because truly, truly, you're never alone. We all come from family dynamics that are head bending and curious. So that's one thing. And then, it's also important that for those of you that seek individual therapy as a resource tool, or that advise a personal advocate to somebody, be sure to consider how you share your membership in the collective family, or the enterprising family, or the family enterprise. Because I've recently had a client come to me and say, my therapist told me how terrible all the things my parents did, how terrible those things are. But the whole story that he shared wasn't fully relevant. And when we went back and rescoped the kind of information to give a personal advocate, a coach, or a therapist, so that therapist could truly help the individual and be the individual's advocate, but also understand the realities of the system, that that individual was never going to become the successor candidate or successor in that family business. The dynamic of questioning could be more productive. So be sure to always share that what is the system in which you are trying to seek legitimacy, so that that individual therapy as a tool can be valuable as well. And then finally, there are conferences as well that professionals and advisors and family members can go to, whether it's through Family Business Magazine is a publishing company that does phenomenal programs called Transitions, where it's a very safe environment to share your story and not be attacked, the shark in the tuna tank, attacked by advisors. But that's also a great way to take a look at those. If you just Google what are, family enterprise or flourishing family enterprise conferences, you'll come up with some different ones as well. But we do have the list of family, university-based family business centers. If you need that, reach out to us.